Hello, everyone, and welcome to Creatures Features, the show where we discuss strange creatures in mythology, cryptozoology, and pop culture. My name is Aaron, and I'm your monsterologist for the day. This is my friend Jackie, who will be learning about our monster of the week right alongside you.
Hello.
How are you doing today, Jackie?
Not too bad. Ready to find out about some new monsters. Maybe something I've never heard of.
So you have heard of this one.
Okay.
Before the show here, I gave you a hint, right?
Yes.
Do you remember what the hint was?
I believe you said something about like a French lizard.
That's exactly.
Okay. I was like, or my brain playing tricks on me again.
No, a French lizard. Do you have any idea what this is?
I'm trying to think. I've been thinking about it like since you told me, and I don't know. And I'm like, man, I'm usually good with cryptids and monsters, and this one's just nothing specific is coming to mind.
Okay, so this particular monster, since this is our first one, I wanted to do something a little out there. So instead of going with cryptozoology, I decided we're gonna hit mythology first.
Okay.
So this first monster is going to be the Tarrasque.
Oh, okay. See, I didn't know a lot of origin to it, so this will be fun.
Exactly. So, before we start, what do you know about the Tarrasque?
Honestly, pretty much my knowledge is going to extend to what's like in the Monster Manual D&D version of it. And in that, at the very least, they're very, very large. Essentially one of the hardest monsters in the game, unless you're talking gods. So they're very sturdy. And they're mostly known for being siege monsters. So they just take down cities and walls and things, which I feel like, that's what they said. They're just big and they hit really hard, and they're a pain. And apparently, a group one time took them down as a bunch of druids summoning deer. So that's my Tarrasque knowledge in a nutshell.
Okay, so this is gonna hit you really weird, but the Tarrasque from D&D is almost nothing like the actual thing.
I had a sneaking suspicion. So yeah, this will be pretty much a lot of new information then, which I'm excited about.
Yeah. So just to give you a little taste of what this Tarrasque is. The Tarrasque, when talking mythology, is a dragon-like creature. It was first explored, talked about, and written about in France around, the 1200s.
Okay.
And, yes, so it's about an 800-year-old legend.
Gotcha.
And in its mythology, it's really only famous for one event, which is a battle with a saint.
Just like a church saint?
Yes.
Okay.
Which I'll get into that.
Okay, yeah.
Also, you obviously know about its D&D pop culture influences and everything. We're also going to talk about a few other difficult-to-kill lizards that may have been inspired by it or just plain out are.
Okay, cool. Sounds good.
Alright, so starting off first thing. When you think of Tarrasque, what's the appearance look like? What's this thing look?
Again, I just have to pull off of D&D, which at this point, I don't know if I should try and guess something different because I know it's not right. Or just go with the knowledge I have. I'm guessing not as large. But I'm still picturing something fairly large, just not gargantuan, if I want to use the official D&D term. Maybe a bit of a longer neck. For some reason, picturing green, even though I know the Tarrasque in the Monster Manual's brown. Things, I don't know, lizard, dragon, green, all kind of go together often. So, I guess since I know it's not the same thing necessarily, I'm picturing more European dragon-like, but maybe without the wings. So more like a Drake-esque situation.
So, the Tarrasque is described as a dragon, but it's really, really far out from the traditional dragon. When we're talking about the mythological Tarrasque, we're talking about dragon-like creature with the head of a lion, a turtle's back but lined with spikes, and 6 legs with big bear-like claws at the end. And usually either a snake or a dragon's tail.
Of course, yeah. Yeah, I definitely see the turtle influence there of I like the colors of the last image, very vibrant purple. I feel like it's not the traditional depiction, but I like it.
Yeah, so let me actually paint you a little bit better of a description, okay? I actually found this one on folkloresociety.com's page about the Tarrasque. So let me get a little theatric here for a second. It was fatter than an ox, longer than a horse, with a lion's face and head, teeth as sharp as swords, and a horse's mane. Its back sharp as an axe, bristling and piercing scales, 6 feet with bear's claws, a serpent's tail, and a shell on either side like a tortoise.
Yeah, that's not a normal dragon.
No, it's not a normal dragon.
Not at all, okay.
And actually, there's a reason for that, too. Going into the mythology, a few sources will actually talk about the Tarrasque's parentage.
Okay.
So, the Tarrasque was actually the child of Bonacus, which was a large fiery bull who caught everything that it touched on fire.
I feel like I've heard of that.
And the legendary Leviathan, you know, the big sea serpent from the Bible.
Yeah.
So with parents like that, the Tarrasque had a few tweaks to the dragon design.
It wasn't going into life with, like, the biggest deck of cards as far as its... it went in a bit handicapped as far as its, you know, stylishness.
Yeah, no, Ryan Reynolds is not the parent.
No, it's not. No, it's definitely very interesting.
Oh, a quick fun fact I have written here too, by the way, about the father Bonacus. Some myths have that Bonacus didn't set things on fire via touch, but instead by propelling feces out of its anus. So just enjoy that mental image, because I had to.
That's a good way to do it. I mean, you
gotta. Also, some sources call Bonacus Onacus instead, just alleviating the B. Not sure the difference, really. Was not able to find much online about that.
Probably just a pronunciation difference, I feel like, or like a regional variant of the same thing. I feel like a lot of folklores have that happen.
Yeah. So, this happened really early in history, according to the Tarrasque tale, okay? So, even though the myth was first told in the 1200s, this took place in the 1st century.
Gotcha. So even then it was like a back in the day kind of story.
Yeah, it just wasn't written down. The particular legend that it's from is even called the Golden Legend.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. So this takes place very soon after the death of Jesus Christ in the Bible.
Gotcha, okay.
Okay, so keep that in mind when I'm describing what's going on in the story. Don't think anybody looks immaculate or anything.
No, of course not.
When I mention like kings or saints, they're not in gold. They're
nobody's got the finery. Nobody's nails are done up. And,
yeah,
you know,
no,
powdered wigs.
none of that.
Okay, curb the expectations of it.
Yes.
Sounds good.
Okay, so the Tarrasque lived in France for quite a long time by the point that the legend starts. Long enough at this point that the town that the creature had been terrorizing all these years had actually changed its name.
Okay.
And actually, it's still a town in France you can visit today.
Interesting.
Which is called Tarasque. Literally, Tarascon.
Yeah, I can definitely see the inspiration there. Yeah.
So, the creature was routinely in this area seen eating people who were either passing through the town or trying to cross the nearby river. Okay? So this was a big problem for these people. They were kind of losing out on trade and tourism, if you can even call it that at that point.
Yeah, as much tourism as I think you got in the 1st century, but yeah, no, I get what you
The
mean.
original legend also states that the creature was extremely hard to kill, which kind of projects into the modern Tarrasque thing.
Yeah.
Except for the reasoning for it.
Okay.
The original story, like, looking back at the most translated accurate story, describes it as hard to kill, not because it was invincible, but instead because whenever the creature was threatened, it just ran into the water and just hid underwater.
Oh, okay. Significantly different from the hard to kill reasoning we get now, but
yeah. Later myths kind of say that the turtle shell was almost invincible. Some people say that only acid and holy water were able to stop it then.
Gotta do your holy water. Gotta mark it correctly. That makes sense.
Okay, so we'll get back to that holy water and acid thing later on, because I've got some fun references. But with the village being terrorized by this creature, the village reached out to a nearby saint. Okay?
Okay.
So this saint in particular, I don't know how much you actually know about the Bible. I was raised Christian, so I know a lot that I don't
Pretty
really
much
use.
none, so.
Okay, have you ever heard of Mary Magdalene?
The name is very familiar.
She was a very close follower of Jesus. Okay. Some people even theorize that she may have been a wife to Jesus Christ secretly, but this is not conspiracy theory talk.
Creatures.
Yeah, this is our creatures. So, Mary Magdalene and Lazarus, I'm pretty sure you've heard about him, guy who got brought back to life.
Yeah.
Yeah. The villagers reached out to their sister, Martha. Okay?
Okay.
So that whole family had actually fled to France out of religious persecution after Jesus, went fly up to heaven or whatever.
Yeah, his, ending.
So Martha, at this point, upon hearing the town, was being terrorized, decided, okay, I'm gonna take this on, and I'm gonna go fight this dragon. And,
yeah, I mean, if you gotta.
I mean, out of myth mode, though, okay? Thinking realistically, what the hell made this lady think she could take on a fucking dragon?
I don't know. That's such a good...
At this point, she doesn't have any, mythical feats available to her. She hasn't done anything yet in Christian lore. At this point, she's watched her brother be raised from the dead, and she watched Jesus come back to life, and that's it.
Maybe she's just if it worked for them, even if this thing gets me, I'm golden.
Oh, Lazarus will just bring me back.
Yeah, I'll just get back to life. Either that, or her whole thought process was well, maybe it's not real. But I feel like that's not the answer. Because people are over-exaggerating. This thing's just a turtle.
It's just a really big snapping turtle.
Big snapping turtle. I can just pick it up and it won't bite me, and I'll just throw it in the river. I feel like that's probably not the
easiest
answer,
sainthood ever.
Yeah, that's the way you become a saint. You pick a snapping turtle up, don't get your arm torn off, and toss it in the trash. That's it.
Just imagining her picking up this huge, ox-sized dragon and just yeeting it into the trash can.
I feel like if she can pick it up, she gets sainthood at that point. I feel like she just earned it.
There's the miracle.
Yeah, the miracle is lifting the turtle, not defeating it.
Okay, so just upon hearing the town's woes, she decides, I'm gonna go into the forest, I'm gonna hunt this thing down. So what does she take when she goes to hunt this thing down? What do you take to hunt down an invincible Tarrasque that myths either say hides from every weapon, or just every weapon bounces off of it?
Well, I feel like at that point, logically, from her standpoint, you're gonna need something that doesn't look like a weapon. Because if it doesn't see a weapon, it's just free food. Delivery. It's like old DoorDash.
Excuse me, I'd like to order 3 humans.
Yeah, you just drop those off right by this riverbed. Don't show a weapon, I'll run away. So I feel like, because we mentioned this earlier, holy water probably would be something she'd bring.
Mm-hmm.
It's that thing is a demon, because it's not Christian, it's gotta be a demon.
Yeah.
I feel like throwing holy water at it, maybe a holy water grenade, but something you can chuck from a distance. So I wouldn't want to get too close to this thing.
If this was if this was Puppet History, or one of the shows where we're actually giving points, you would earn one right there. Because that was one of the 3 things she brought.
She could bring holy water. Awesome.
So she brought holy water, a cross, just a little wooden cross, like a little crucifix.
That makes sense.
And her girdle.
Okay. My brain was okay, maybe a rosary. Nope, girdle. All right.
Girdle. Nope.
Yeah, fair. Okay.
Okay, so she walks into the woods, basically saying, I'm going to go get this turtle. This dragon is going to bow to me. I am going to become a saint, whatever. Really, it was just her trying to help this town. She wasn't actually after anything. But, I just feel like making her an ass.
I feel like I feel like it's if in the good place. If you're doing something only to like get the points, it kind of nullifies it. I feel like sainthood's the same way. Like if you're out there doing good deeds because you're like, I'm gonna be a saint, I feel like you're not gonna be a saint.
Probably
like,
not.
I mean, I don't know a lot about religion and Christianity. I just that doesn't feel like the right play.
Yeah, no. So she does find this thing fairly quickly too. She walks up to the riverbank and finds it literally in the process of eating a manhole. According to most myths, his legs are like swinging wildly from the beast's mouth at the time. And funny enough, that has become the most common painting depiction in like medieval times of the Tarrasque is just this big old turtle with a man's legs coming out.
Just working a man. Is that? No, I see that. Yeah, no, I see the legs in the first.
Yep, in the first little image I've got here.
That's fantastic. He's just working this man.
Yeah, so we've already discussed what you thought she'd bring.
Yeah.
So immediately Martha responds to seeing this turtle dragon eating this man by throwing her vial of holy water at the Tarrasque.
Checks out.
Okay, she pulls out her wooden cross, and she starts praying.
Right, as you do.
Fight's over. Instantaneously, the beast becomes tame.
She didn't need the girdle? Or
according to mythology, it just stops.
Okay.
It just stops and starts doing whatever she tells it to do. In some versions of the myth from there, she uses her girdle to, like, bind the monster, you know, like a collar.
Gotcha. For some reason, my brain jumped to, like, all right, now that it's tame, we're going to rig this girdle like a saddle, and we're going to ride this guy back into town, show off that he's fine. But
I may actually bring this back to that in a bit.
Okay,
but hold on,
anyway,
okay?
Continue.
Okay. So, you are right, though, about what her first thing to do is, though. Immediately after pacifying the creature, she starts to take it back to town, and she stands it out in the center of the village for everyone to see. Immediately, everyone in the town starts throwing sticks, stones, and spears at the creature until it dies.
I can't fully blame them. I don't know why she took it straight. If I was in her position, I would have maybe, like, tied it up outside at the gate, and been like, hey, everybody, I got this thing. Just don't freak out.
Don't worry, we converted it.
Yeah, it's Christian now. It's fine. We can't kill it. It's like us now. But yeah, that's not surprising. That was really surprisingly easy to kill, but...
Yeah, no, in some versions of the myth, they did it just because they were scared that the creature was in the town and they didn't wait long enough to see it be pacified. In other versions, they did it out of revenge.
Yeah, that makes sense too. Humans are garbage, so like I can see either one.
Uh-huh.
That honestly checks out.
So, another fun little tidbit here is that some people say that Tarasque was not named Tarasque before the event, but only after the event. Those versions of the myth say it's because the villagers felt bad that she had literally converted it to Christianity first and then murdered it.
So I have like an honoring sort of thing they named
yes.
it down after?
That's one version.
Okay.
Like I said, the original version of the myth is that, you know, the monster was terrifying them for years.
Right.
So, even when we're, like, getting down to the end of this is a really short and simple myth.
Yeah, no, it's straightforward. It's kind of amazing. Just the fact that she chucked holy water at it and was like, this is done now. But, yeah, no. That's nothing crazy other than a normal myth.
Yeah, but I do want to mention, specifically in case we touch on any of these things later on, that a lot of these Christian sainthood myths are the same. Like, when a Christian, like, character or saint gets their sainthood by fighting a monster, it's usually extremely quick and almost has no, like, risk.
They chuck holy water at it and it's pacified and then they move on.
Yeah, there's another example that's mentioned a lot when you're talking about the Loch Ness Monster, where it supposedly fought St. Columba.
Okay.
And it was the same thing, where he just chucked holy water, prayed, and it went away.
I mean, fair enough.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So just in case we ever talk about Nessie later on down the road, we've got a little bit of a jumping off point here from the Tarrasque.
go, yeah. Reference it.
Okay, so let's talk about all of its pop culture moments and like references to its original myth, okay?
Yeah.
So obviously we've already been over a little bit of it, but the most well-known version is the Dungeons and Dragons version.
Right.
Where it's been a reoccurring monster since first edition.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I thought, because I remember you have that art book of a lot of the D&D art throughout time, or at least we looked at it. I thought,
it does, yes.
Oh, we did have that. I'm like,
yeah, no, we have that.
So yeah, I remember seeing the Tarrasque there. It's gone through some iterations, but yeah, it is indeed.
Yeah, in the most recent version of the monster manual, the Tarrasque is described as a 50-foot long quadrupedal dragon, so it lost 2 of its legs there. Instead of having a turtle-like back, it's got plates, and it's got really big horns.
It's very dinosaur-like.
Yeah, it really is. It's like a theropod.
Yeah, it is, and it's like I said, I think it's the only challenge rating 30 monster in the original monster manual.
Yes.
Basically, as long as you're not talking about like a god, it's pretty much the toughest thing you can take.
Mm-hmm. And it actually has a little bit of a reason in this too. In D&D, the history of it is that it comes from the prime material realm, right?
Right.
Which is also how it gets its kind of invulnerability to most forms of weaponry and even magic, is because it's from the prime material realm as like this one-of-a-kind creature. It literally can't die.
Oh, because it's... Okay.
So the Tarrasque can't die in D&D, it can just be put back to sleep.
Right.
And that's it.
Okay. Yeah, I must admit, I haven't read every ounce of that, because I've never had a party that can take a Tarrasque, so I've kind of looked at it and go, that bitch is a lot, and then moved on. Enough to know about it, but yeah, I've not actually read the specific lore. That's very interesting. I was unaware it couldn't be killed.
Yeah, no, so it can't be killed, only just put back to sleep.
Interesting.
That's the most you can hope for, which is kind of a reference to the myths where, it just doesn't die of normal things, except for sticks and stones, apparently.
Sticks, stones, and spears, though, take it right out.
Mm-hmm. If you ever have a problem.
It's like druids can kill it.
Yep.
Just throw sticks and stones at it.
My god, if you're a paladin and think you can take it on with more than a vial of holy water, get out of here.
You gotta dip your weapon in holy water, you'll be fine, but otherwise, that's all you got.
Next one, I'm not sure how much you know about SCP.
Very little. I mean, I know the concept of SCP. I've never played any of the SCP games or really looked into like the wiki or anything that hard, but I know some of it. I didn't know there was a Tarrasque reference in SCP, so that's very interesting.
There is. It's actually one of the more popular creatures in SCP. So, without further ado, let's talk about SCP-682, the hard-to-destroy reptile. Though it's not a direct one-to-one with the Tarrasque, it has been referred to as a Tarrasque in several stories.
Gotcha.
Okay? Much like the Tarrasque of legend, its first appearance was actually in France in an SCP story, which, let's see, what was it called? It was called The Lord Blackwood and the Great Tarrasque Hunt of 83, which I do have a link to down below in the description.
I'll pop that up. Yeah.
Yep, it's a little bit longer of a story, but interestingly enough, it has Teddy Roosevelt helping hunt this SCP.
Interesting.
Okay, so let's talk about what the Tarrasque and 682 have in common.
Okay, yeah.
Both of them are extremely large reptilian creatures. Both of them have a messy mane of hair covering their face.
Okay.
Both of them hate humanity and want to eat as many people as possible.
As you do.
And in reference to the Tarrasque's inability to be harmed, 682 can't be killed, only made smaller with the use of acid.
Okay, so kind of going back to like the...
Kind of going back to that idea of holy water and acid being the only thing keeping it small and, like, containing it.
Yeah, okay, and taming it, as is in the original myth. Interesting.
But 682 can't really be tamed. He also can't be killed. Yeah.
Okay.
He's just pacified, so they keep him in basically an acid bath to keep him from killing everything.
Like, if you let him out of the acid, he'll start growing again?
He'll start growing and evolving to basically anything around him. Apparently, yeah, 682 just can't evolve to beat the acid, or at least not from what I've read.
It's like the only thing that kind of... It's like kryptonite. It's
yeah.
Can't avoid it. Okay.
Also, another fun fact about that, 682 is also the child to a horrible monster in the SCP universe, similar to our Tarrasque being the child of Leviathan.
Okay.
682 is actually one of the sons of the Scarlet King, who is kind of like an omnipresent deity.
Okay.
An evil deity. Think like Haster from the Cthulhu mythos.
Okay. Gotcha.
Both entities that we might talk about in another episode, maybe down the line.
Very possible.
So those are the big two I wanted to talk about. I've got a couple more tinier references and things, just to mention them. Our scaly friend the Tarrasque appears in Fate Grand Order.
I saw that as one of the links, and yeah, I'm not surprised, because what isn't in Fate?
So he doesn't appear as his own spirit, unfortunately. But
well, yeah, monsters are kind of weird when it comes to Fate.
So he does appear, though, as Saint Martha's noble phantasm in Fate.
Yeah, she's a writer.
She is a writer, and the Tarrasque is her mount.
Tarrasque is the mount. Interesting. Yeah, I'm almost certain, because I've played that game. Great. I'm almost certain I've actually seen her. I don't think I ever actually summoned her, but I'm pretty sure I've seen her.
I will admit that I have summoned her in-game, and that is the reason that I kind of started thinking about Tarrasque as a...
But no, yeah, I see she's got the, because I popped up the wiki, the big crossed staff situation?
Yeah, that's supposed to be the reference to her crucifix that she brought to fight it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, Fate pulls into weird places for their stuff, so that's interesting that she's got him. Oh yeah, there's the Tarrasque also as the mount.
He looks beautiful.
Part of the noble phantasm. That's actually, I mean, looking at that is actually relatively
accurate to the myth.
Yeah, they actually held to the myth pretty well.
They really did.
Wow, I'm impressed. And I see even in the background, people of Southern France in the 1st century reported to be the son of Leviathan. Yeah, that's impressive. Nice.
He also appears in the Shin Megami Tensei series as a reoccurring demon, usually a big boss enemy that you can fight. So that's one of the more popular JRPGs. Unfortunately, I'm not into it.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with it. Is that purple one?
Yes, it's a very nice purple demon.
That's JRPG, yeah.
Yeah, so in that series, he is a demon. He is not a dragon.
Okay.
Yeah, so that series mostly does deal with demonology and creatures like that. Interestingly enough, he also does have 3 shells covering his back in that.
Intriguing.
Reference to the original 2 that made up the Tarrasque's sides.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
I've also noted that Anguirus from the Godzilla series is very similar to a Tarrasque, although there's never been any mention of one-to-one, inspiration. Right. It's just very interesting to note that both are large reptilian creatures, very dragon-like. Anguirus kind of has that dragon, or not dragon, but lion-like mane almost with his horns. And a double carapace in his first appearance. So.
Oh, okay. So yeah, some lines to be drawn.
Yes.
Between the two.
And the last little fun reference I thought I'd throw in here is that we have a real-world dinosaur that was named after the Tarrasque in 1991.
Oh.
We've got.
I found that link there. That's.
Yeah, it's a French theropod dinosaur, literally called Tarascosaurus.
I love when I see paleontology pull from mythology as a method of naming dinosaurs and fossils. And
it's
such.
Always awesome to see that, or when just scientists pull in general.
Not just paleontology, but just science as a whole when they get from sources like that. I always find that really cool.
You mean like the piece of DNA that they literally called Sonic the Hedgehog?
Yeah. Things like that, where they're like, yeah, this is good, and I'm like, y'all are nerds, but I'll take it.
Yeah.
Fun.
So that's all I've got for you on the Tarrasque. You got anything you want to say? Anything you want to talk about him?
I mean, that was definitely, it was cool to see, because in all honesty, I knew it as a D&D monster. I cannot say that I knew more about it than that. So I didn't know it went deeper than that, and that is pretty cool. It makes you definitely want to take a look through things we could possibly cover, other perhaps D&D monsters or things that are based on things that you don't necessarily realize. Because obviously, the big ones you get, like dragons, dragon folklore, unicorns, things like that. Everybody knows those things exist in other mythologies. But yeah, I might have to really start looking into that more because I did not know, and that's definitely some interesting stories. I like the simplicity of just chucking holy water at it. It's always fun.
You know, just binding a girdle around its neck.
Yeah, just kind of taking it. That's fine.
This is mine now.
Yeah. So
Perfect.
yeah, no, that's definitely very interesting. I'm a big fan.
Awesome. Well, your monster is going to be the next one we talk about, so whatever you may choose, that will be a surprise for me here in the coming weeks.
So we will see what that ends up being. I'll see what it ends up being because I'm not sure yet. I'll have to take a look and find something good to share with you because it's definitely a lot to learn. A lot of different creatures out there,
and we're going to learn them all together. I want to say thank you to everybody who actually stuck around and listened to this, because this was a lot of fun to do research on.
It was, yeah. It was cool.
And
it's fun to hear about, too.
I can't wait for my week to just slack off and do nothing.
Sit back and learn some new weird things.
Exactly. So, I guess, give us a like on this video if you enjoyed it. Leave a comment down below. Tell us some of the monsters that we should possibly look into doing. And just let us know what you think.
Yeah, because we definitely want to do more of these because they're a good time.
They're entertaining.
Yeah.
All right. With that said, we are going to be saying goodbye, everybody.
All right. Goodbye. Thanks for joining us.